you got to ask me?
So I'm here with Buck, who knows his music, the blues, the rhythm and the blues, Oakland and Berkeley and the East Bay. And back in the day, in the golden era here, there was a lot of record labels and record stores, little tiny independent ones, right?
Right. Oh, yes, it was. Dual Records on 14th, I think in Franklin. We had Wolf's Record down on 7th Street. We had Reed's Records in Berkeley. And also Reed's had a thing in Swan's department store. We had...
Where was Swan's department store?
It was down on Washington Street, around 10th and Washington. Swan's, that's where all the blacks used to shop at, all up and down there. So you had a bunch of record stores, little ones. They had my friend Lee Mother had one in the Grant Avenue Shopping Center in the 60s. And it was a bunch of them around that I can remember that we used to go to. Because when I was working for Rockin' Lucky, we used to go into different places that he had records that he would put in jukeboxes and stuff, and I would help him do it. We would pick the songs and whatnot that we liked the most, and we'd put everything up to date that everybody was dancing and listening to.
Was there a lot of local records that were popular?
Oh, yes, they were. You know, Don Barstow had his own label, and Music City definitely had it. You know, Music City, Don Ray Dornborough, he had so much stuff. I mean, you know, if you ever go look at his collection of records that we had seen, yeah, like I said, we had a song that everybody used to, we were coming up young, we used to do-wop on the corner, WPLJ, that stands for White Port Lemon Juice. That was one of the top things during that time. And we had all kind of singers. Roger Collins, he sung a lot of stuff around here, you know. And
that's
Eugene,
the Foxy Little Girls in Oakland.
Foxy Little Girls in Oakland. We had Eugene Blacknell, we had John Turt, we had Marvin and the Uptights. We had Jimmy McCracklin.
And these were all recorded in local studios too?
That's right, Lowell Folsom, a bunch of them, you know, all around, you know. We had Bob Gettins, that's right around the corner from my laundromat. He wrote a lot of songs. If you look on it, I think he wrote one of the ones I like, I Want to Know by Sugar Pie DeSanto. He wrote that, and that was on Checkered Records. And he did a lot of stuff, and he's not been given a lot of fame, but he deserved it because he wrote records that a lot of them remember, that you might remember. I think he might have also wrote this record that Lowell Folsom did that everybody did, Reconsider Me. I ain't sure though, I might be, you know, but I know that he's did a lot of stuff, and all the people like Jimmy McCracken and all of them know him.
Music City, that was a studio
on Alcatraz Avenue in Berkeley.
And it was a little store in the front.
And it wasn't such a little store as that it was a record shop that was small, but it was a recording studio in the back. See, and he have that we coming in. I remember seeing the Music City Soul Brothers there, and I remember when I had a chance, and I'm gonna say this because this guy named Charles Patton and a couple of his friends invited me out to their homes in Berkeley years in the 60s, and they did this song called Something in My Eye. Now I know that Fred Hughes and Wally Trash has been part of that, but they wouldn't, I don't know if they were part of that particular song there, you know, because the Music City Soul Brothers were a different group of guys all the time. They just wasn't never the same set. You know, whenever something came up and Ray Dornborough had it and he thought it was a good song, he would get the best singers that he had and the best young singers to sing the song for him. And he would put it out, you know. So it's a lot of them. They had the Crescendos, which was a local group that I can remember when they were coming up.
And how many records would they press up of that? 500 or something?
500 or something like that. And around here, and we would have it always, Don Barstow would always push them. I don't care what you say. He would push the local talent, you know, and they had a top 10, KDIE top 10. And he'll put them in at 29, 30, you know, up and coming hot list. You know, and it's according on how we bought them, and, you know, it's how well they sold. See, he had his own group too. He had a couple of them. Don Barstow had, if you look at his stuff, any of his stuff costs big money. I mean, you know, because it's so rare. But Don Barstow had his own record company, and it was on Grand Avenue. And I happen to have a couple of his old records, the Cha-Cha Bop and something else.
Now sorry, go on.
And also, going back to Music City, I had one that Ray Dornborough used to do. He'll put one record on there, like say by maybe the Four Deuces, and on the other side he have another guy singing, like Mr. Undertaker. You know, I can remember those records by not so much a lot of times by names, but by the names of the people that sung. So when I was coming up, it was nothing that I didn't listen to or hear, because I listened to him, Jumpin' George, Roscoe, every DJ they had from say Rockin' Lucky on down to Jumpin' George, George Osborne, I listened to. And when I really started to listen to music, it had to be 1951. Ernest Billborn's Bad Bad Whiskey, Billy Ward and Dominoes, 60 Minute Man. To me, that was the start of everything here. We would listen to all that kind of stuff. And we had our own people singing here during that time too. They always would promote them. Sugar Pata Santo and Pee Wee Clayton, Etta James, all those people. We got Johnny Otis. You know, it's a lot of people
A lot
of people that were here that deserve credit, and we had our own sound.
What about some of the, speaking of the sound, the producers? Was there any standout producers or producers who did a lot of these records, or was it all different producers?
All different producers at different times. That's what we were hoping for, because if it had been, we probably would have been great if we had had maybe 2 or 3 great producers, because there were some good records that were made. They just didn't go. I remember Maury Wills and the Kids out of Encinal Village over there, you know, in Alameda, and they had this record came out in '59 called "Are You My Girlfriend," which I thought was a great cut. It was in the doo-wop vein, and they never got the recognition they did until later on in life, when the guys from New York discovered the doo-wop. And I think right now, if you find their records, a lot of it is bootleg. I think I got one of the original copies of the record when it came out on TV Records.
Yeah.
Bobby Freeman out of San Francisco. See, he used to come. I'm talking about, we had a lot of stuff. The musicians, Bobby Freeman, the Casanova 2, Fred Hughes, you know, by himself, and all the other groups, Kenneth Pleasants. I remember when they had a record I thought was one of the greatest records did on both sides. It was on Josie Records. It was Sooner or Later and I Confess by the Four Rivers. And it deserved to be a great, great record, and it just never went anywhere. And we used to listen to it. If you ever hear it, you'll hear probably some great, great singing, and you'll understand what I'm singing. Fred Hughes, when he was young, he was phenomenal. His voice range was outstanding. So I'm just giving plugs to all these great guys that I know that had the voices and whatnot to do it. Him and Wally Trash, they did a thing, Casanova 2 was great. And also they did a thing on Music City where him and Kenneth Pleasants and them, Why Don't You Keep Our Love, what's the name of it? Right now it can't come to me, but I have it. I have the record itself. So I'm not worried about it right now, but Why Don't You Let Our Love Go On? That's the name of it. And like I said, we have some great, great people, and Oakland deserves a lot of credit. We also had Larry Williams here, with people to understand. When he did Bodie Maroney and Long and Short Fat Fanny, he was staying in Oakland, you know, and like I said, then he went to LA and he hooked up with Johnny Guitar Watson, and they did Mercy Mercy. And he always was a place for home that people know him from Oakland. They could always come down to LA and stick with him and stay with him. You know, he always showed love to the people of Oakland when he moved down, even though he never came back here. But we have had stars. We have had stars. I remember I heard a guy was telling me the other day that he know Don Barstow-'s son, and Don Barstow-'s son got the old contracts of Lou Rawls and a bunch of stars. So I don't know what the son has did with all that paraphernalia, but God, that should have been some type of rhythm and blues Hall of Fame. Those different things.
With all those clubs and then all these studios and record stores, it seemed like it was a really tight-knit, you know, close community. A lot of good people working together and spending time together and making music together.
It was. They had Johnny Talbot and Johnny Horseman. They had the Golden Tones with Joe Simon. I mean, they had so many people here working together, and they were from the South. It was like a melting pot, like they say. Then we started getting people.
A lot of people migrating from the South.
Oh, yes. I mean, and they did it. And I'm going to tell you, one town probably said more here than anybody. And I don't know what, Monroe, Louisiana has so many people from here that came here. I know so many people from Monroe, Louisiana, that it's a shame. So I don't know how Monroe was when they left, but they left here to come here for better things. And that's why we started having the community. When you go deep into West Oakland, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a lot of people from there, but they brought their music with them. They brought that hard singing religious music.
And
they
the
brought-
food.
And the food was outstanding. Now, let's talk about the gumbo. The sound of